What you talked about in China-U.S. relations. Joining me live from here in Washington is Padideh Ala'i from American University. She's a law professor and director of international and comparative legal studies, also an expert on trade. Padideh, your expectations from these high-level talks in Anchorage, Alaska, seems the bar is rather low.
Yes, thank you so much, Asieh. Nice to be on. It is low. I mean, at least purposefully, the United States has been saying that this is not a strategic dialogue, even though the Chinese side it says it is a strategic dialogue. The U.S. has been saying it's a one-off meeting, but they have been doing a lot of song and dance in preparation for this meeting. On one hand, the U.S. Has said it's going to be on U.S. territory. It's going to be in Alaska. On the other hand, the Chinese are saying, well, it's in Anchorage, not in Washington or New York. So it's like halfway near China, and so this is a compromised location. There's some symbolism to it being in Alaska, sort of midway point between Washington and I guess Beijing, and sort of we are trying to, as far as you can get from the U.S. capital without being outside of U.S. territory. They also have been preparing. I mean, we just met with the Quad, so to speak. They had conversations with South Korea, but also with Japan and with Australia and India, which has set things up. They're giving all sorts of symbols. Yesterday, the Department of Commerce issued subpoenas for companies in the information technology. I mean, it's not coincidental in the Chinese companies that are pursuant to President Trump's executive order, sort of implementing them, issued these subpoenas. We don't know. I don't know what the companies exactly who they were, but those were issued. Of course, the sanctions a few days ago against individuals in China. So a lot of preparation in preparation.
Right.
For this meeting.
Certainly a lot of preparations, a lot of anticipation, Padideh. But when it comes to these talks, what does each side hope to achieve here? I mean, I guess the fact that they're at least talking is a good start.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think knowing Antony Blinken and his background, he is a multilateralist. He is an interventionist, and he does believe in dialogue. But he wants to do it from a position of strength. I think that on the Chinese side, they want to give the message that the Trump administration's approach, the imposition of U.S. trade sanctions, is not the way to go. We need to cooperate on the vaccine situation as well, the vaccine diplomacy, which has also caused tensions. I mean, the Chinese are worried about the technology bans and about the stuff that we have done on that front in terms of not removing the tariffs. And the U.S. wants to set the stage also for domestic political reasons, that we are concerned about the human rights abuses, the mass arrests in Hong Kong.
Well, let me ask you about that, because apparently the Biden administration wants to link human rights issues to economic and trade issues. First of all, is that the right approach? When you think about, Padideh, for example, United States and Russia, they agreed to extend the START treaty, but they did not make that contingent on what happens to Alexei Navalny, also a human rights issue. And here you've got U.S. and China. Why can't the same be done here? Separate the issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point that you make. Is there's sort of different, although President Biden did say some things that the relationship between the Sino-U.S. relations are not on a very good grounds right now, and with Russia either. So, but we have always, the Democratic Party in particular, but even the Trump administration has always linked the human rights records to trade. I mean, this has always been one of the big criticisms, and one of the pushes, I think, has been to sort of not turn the other side. If you care about the power of trade, then you need to also come to the table on those other issues. Now, to what extent are they going to be able to? As the program I was listening to, the agricultural industry in the U.S. suffered a lot when we withdrew from the TPP, because they had certain expectations for certain markets. Then the phase one agreement, so they have expectations. On the other hand, we have a certain commitment to human rights, and I think that's important. And there's a lot of pressure in the United States government as well with regards to what's happening, especially in Hong Kong and South China Sea.
So we're running out of time. Very, very quickly here. Are you concerned that these talks could actually make things when it comes to trade and economic issues worse very quickly?
I don't think so. I think they're pragmatic enough on the U.S. side to understand that we do need each other, but there could be some really bumpy roads. I'm convinced there are places for cooperation. Climate change is one,
right,
and the situation with Iran as well.
Right.
So I think there is a lot that they could be doing together. So I think there's some movement on that front. I think that diplomacy is the way that they proceed instead of unilateral action. It's a good thing. I think this beginning of the conversation is important, but I don't expect thawing of relations immediately and not to have bumps.
We'll have to leave it there. Padideh Ala'i, thank you very much.